Hello, my name is Elijah, and welcome to my podcast, Songwriting for Songwriters. This podcast is all about celebrating the art form of songwriting. I talk to special songwriting guests, producers, and artists about songwriting, making records, and how music shapes artists' creative visions. My aim is to create a resource library of conversations with some of the most successful songwriters, legendary artists, cult heroes, game changers, and my own personal heroes and influences to inspire you, the songwriter or music fan. As a songwriter myself, me and my guests go deeper into the creative activity we love the most and which we are all obsessed by, songwriting. You can also get yourself a copy of my book, The Songwriter's Handbook, from Amazon, in paperback form or on Kindle, which is filled with 52 songwriting challenges and themes to help you find a spark or seed of an idea for your next song, or if you've never written a song before, for your very first. The theme music for this episode and this season is a track called Wake of the Dawn by my band The Gravity Drive. You can find that track on all streaming platforms and also from thegravitydrive.com, taken from the album The Wild Light. So joining me today is a very special guest. When I began this podcast, I wrote down some names of people that I would like to speak to, and this guest's name was one of the first names I wrote down. Kula Shaker are back, and their new album Wormslayer is currently sitting very high in the UK album charts. So my guest is songwriter and frontman Crispian Mills. We spoke about his songwriting influences, Wormslayer, the new album, Kula Shaker, and much more. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did, and please do share far and wide. Thank you for listening. Joining me today on the Songwriting for Songwriters podcast is one of my all-time favourite songwriters, Crispian Mills. How are you doing, Crispian?
I'm fine, thank you. I've got a mouthful of pumpkin seeds, but apart from that, we're good to go.
It's a good seed, a pumpkin seed. Lots of
It is. It's highly nutritious, and you should always have a little pouch full of pumpkin seeds. Where I always tend to carry them around with me on tour.
I was thinking about the seed last night as an idea, actually, just thinking about, somebody was talking about a banana being alive, even though it's in your kitchen, but a seed just holds that potential. Anyway, slightly diverting. Thank you for being on the podcast. I'm a massive fan of your songwriting and of Kula Shaker, and you guys are back with a phenomenally brilliant new album. I've been listening to it the last few days, and it's just classic Kula Shaker, immediate melodies, epic. How do you feel about Wormslayer? I know you're doing a lot of promotion at the moment.
We're very excited about it. It's lovely for people to come back to us with this sort of glowing feedback. I mean, we wrote it fast, and it's very much driven by our touring and the band, the way that the band is playing live.
Okay.
But the songwriting, it turned out great, and it's a lovely moment to put out new music. If you get, especially when you get the vinyl and you hold it in your hand and it all becomes tangible.
And it looks so good as well. I mean, the artwork's so fantastic. It's great.
We love good artwork, and this is some of the best we've ever done.
Is that Socrates, the Brazilian player, on the front?
Yeah, well, it started off with the sort of the fact that it was the 8th album, and we were looking at ideas of things relating to the number 8.
Right. Okay.
And he played number 8, and in the end, all the ideas that we thought of, we thought, can we just do them all?
Brilliant.
On one cover.
Fantastic. So you just mentioned, that obviously Kula Shaker had been back for a while and released an album not so long ago. So you've been playing live, and a lot of the songs have come out of playing together. It always seemed to me, being a fan of your music, and I'm just wondering if I'm right or not, it felt like maybe you as the songwriter maybe brought a lot of songs into the band, and then the band would play them live and kind of rearrange them. Is that how it worked, or am I totally a mile off there?
Sometimes it works like that. In the past, we've, especially in the interim years, albums like Pilgrim's Progress were very much, driven by a song on an acoustic guitar, and then we'll build tracks around it. Whereas I did do songwriting and uh, like I would put a song together here at home and then take it to the band. There was also a lot of stuff happening live
Yeah.
where we'd go, oh, that's we should try and do that and turn that into a song. That thing that happened
Cool.
while we were playing Jerry Was There one night.
Okay.
It suddenly turned into like this really Doorsy moment.
Amazing.
And we said, oh, we should do something like that and just really go full Doors. And and so we developed Broker's Folk. I went and wrote Broker's Folk specifically because I remembered the band's sound,
Okay.
and so I had a kind of a vehicle for it.
The album sounds amazing. You recorded that at Middle Farm Studios. I've actually recorded an album there as well, and it's a very unique, beautiful studio, isn't it? With great spaces and equipment. Was that an important factor for the sound or the choice of that studio?
We started off actually in Belgium in Alonso's barn,
Okay.
and he was in charge of. I mean, his wiring, the wiring in his studio is like is sort of labyrinth, and there are mice, and it's pretty eccentric, but it's somewhere we all know and we feel comfortable with. But a lot, and Alonso was producing and engineering, and we just were looking for somewhere in England as well that where take a bit of the pressure off Alonso, and also just a different room, a
Yeah.
different sounding room.
Yeah.
And we knew one of our guitar techs, the only man I know who's called Isambard,
Wow.
uh, a young lad called Isambard. And Izzy told us about Middle Farm because he'd worked there, and Peter Miles was really creative and a lot of fun. So we managed to get down there, and we went in, and we I had charge of the Light Brigade ready to go, and we tried playing it like I had on my demo, and it just didn't work. And Peter came up with a fantastic idea of laying down the acoustic and the drums together, kind of on the same mics,
Right.
and so we were building songs in the studio and letting the production also influence how we arrange the songs. So you know, every every song has a life of its own, and
Absolutely.
we don't have a system so
Okay.
much.
I mean, it just sounds fantastic. I mean, "Be Merciful" was probably my favorite track. I think of the album that's been stuck in my head since I heard it. It's a wonderful, wonderful track. From a lyrical point of view, is there a kind of a particular theme, or is there some chapters of life that you've been going through which kind of impact the or influence the lyrical take of things for the album?
For the whole album.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you go through. I find that you go through periods of time. It's kind of like the weather.
yeah,
I'm going through a certain period where I'm reading a book, or I'm experiencing a loss, or or a time where I'm feeling immensely grateful or whatever.
yeah.
And I don't know. I'm a really sort of cyclic person. I feel I'm going in. I think most people are. And with regards to songwriting, you go through a period of weather in which there are certain influences upon you, and if you work very quickly on a record, you find it's a snapshot of it's a real snapshot of where you're at a certain time. Whereas albums that you do over a period of a few years, or you write over a period of a few years, it tends to be more spread out. And yeah, I step back from the writing process reluctantly, and it's very hard to be objective about it. But it's quite a theatrical album in terms of lyrics. there's a lot of storytelling and trying to make sense of the madness of the world, the sort of psychosis of the world,
Yeah,
because we are definitely living through a
crazy time.
mass psychosis,
I
where
agree.
you just can't reconcile the sane, your rational stuff with what you're seeing around you. You just it's so polarized, it's so extreme, and the internet, online existence is so disembodied
Yeah,
that there's also a disconnect. And and so I make sense of it with my writing in terms of seeing, all the world's a stage, darling, and so I do. I kind of go there. It's like it helps me to make sense of it and to see it in theatrical terms because you are in a play. You are playing a part. You really are, and that so it helps. It's healthy as well to help you step outside of it.
I think
But
it.
I think with younger people, younger generation, especially the kids who are like, in their early teens, mid-teens now, very much a new generation. Uh, they've got quite broad shoulders, and
Yeah,
they're kind of accustomed to this fever dream climate we're living in.
yeah.
And they have found a sense of humor about it that I find quite anarchic and quite refreshing. So I'm still quite optimistic about the future.
I love all of that. I think that's really interesting. I'm gonna. This is me riffing off of my own way, actually. But the way you just described the times we're living thing, I agree with you. And actually, I've actually had when Peasants, Pigs, and Astronaut came out. I listened to an interview with you a couple of days ago talking about that period of time, and 9/11 happened and everything after. It's kind of interesting to me listening back to Peasants and Pigs and Astronauts and some of the themes that came up, like Mystical Machine Gun Fire, which is my favorite Kula Shaker song. It's almost like you were tuning into some kind of warning above what this stage we're in now and everything that's been happening the last 20 years. I'm obviously not saying you're a prophet, but it's kind of interesting that when you open yourself up to the muse of songwriting, some of that stuff comes up. And that record was very important to me, actually. And, in a sort of weird Kula Shaker kind of way, or this is maybe just me fan overthinking, it's almost like the Kula Shaker Worm Slayer album now is needed. And that Peasants Pick an Astronaut album for me is a bit of a warning of what's to come. And I think from a fan point of view, that's how I think of you as a songwriter in some way, tuning into some sort of thing, or it could just be me overthinking. But anyway,
I think we all tune in,
yeah,
and you know I'm going to be pretentious as hell now. I'm
please do.
sorry.
I'd like you to.
I'm gonna quote William Blake. I'm sorry, you must forgive me, but William Blake, there was someone who was talking about what he did, and he said he wasn't interested in just sort of being a hack, and that his main subject was the business of eternity.
Love that. That's amazing.
This is what I'm concerned with, and well, that's what he said, the business of eternity, and I think that what he meant was is that you don't want to be you really don't want to be just writing about things that coming and going. You want to be get tapping into the timeless themes, so that a great story and a great song. It always feels of its time. It's always relevant. And I can't speak for myself, but that's certainly what you aspire to. And all the great music that I listen to, it just lifts you out of
Yeah.
the temporary, and it gets you into a kind of a deeper mood that just transcends any decade or any age that you might be,
Do you believe in the concept of the muse? Do you think songs are received, or do you think it's a mixture of kind of, there's a craftsman element, roll your sleeves up, write a song a day thing, and then there's the kind of idea of them receiving. Can you talk to that, your kind of relationship with the muse?
Yeah, I think the muse is real. I think it exists, but I think that there's also the craft. and everything has its polarity, and the muse is comes unexpectedly and has a law is a law unto itself, and it can't be understood. It's intuitive, and it's mysterious, and you have to serve it by work. You
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Something comes, who knows when it appears and in what form it will take. It might be a story. It might be something that somebody says. It might be something that you see. But somehow or other, you become inspired by an idea, and that idea may be a melody, or it may be a picture, and then it makes you want to write the song. It makes you want to write the music, and the craft is the hard bit, where you sort of try and give a form to it, and form and structure, and you try to step back and say, well, what have I actually got here? Am I what am I making? Is it a house, or is it a boat, or whatever. So um
It's mysterious, isn't it?
it's both, but you gotta work, you gotta craft it, and without the craft, it's just sort of free. It's just stream of consciousness, and not, some, even like an artist, take an artist for example, like Kandinsky, right? Who was famous because he had synesthesia. He could see colors,
Right.
and he would say, "Oh, I'm just taking a line for a walk and see where it takes me." But even he knew about structure and composition, and this is it. It's like, that's the building part. If you don't know how to build something, it will fall down. If you
Yeah.
don't know about structure and things like that, you learn it. And I say to my kids, the way I learned was I just learned to play other people's music, and by learning other people's music, it helps you to understand how things are built, and you also understand that there are no rules, but there are fundamentals.
Yeah. With that in mind, do you have like a daily kind of practice or habit of looking to serve inspiration or write a song? Is it just as it
Yes.
comes, it goes?
Yeah, I wake up, I try and eat properly so I don't get dehydrated or malnourished. I try not to drink. I drink one very strong coffee to kind of get the
Kick start.
engine started, and then I just start beating myself with a brush. Um, no, I used to beat myself up loads when I was younger, and the whole thing about all the themes of Worm Slayer, and the idea of slaying the demon, of slaying the worm, and facing the demons, and all of that. So much of that is just yourself, and you
Yes.
and facing that part of you that
Yeah.
doesn't like you.
Yeah.
You just don't like yourself. You don't know how to take care of yourself. You don't even think you're worth taking care of, and that's like a thing that everybody has to various degrees. Um, and it's not good for creativity. And you know, um, you say, well, how was John Lennon able to be so creative and hate himself that much? Because he obviously did, and that's also a mystery.
Mm.
But if you look at him at the end, towards the end of his life, before he was, dispatched, um, that he was so much happier, and he was writing. It was easier for him to write, and he was writing really good stuff.
Seems like he made. I mean, I'm a huge Beatles fan. It seems to me like he made peace with himself. To some degree, I think. Um,
Yeah, so I think that a lot of music does, obviously, a lot of art, a lot of creativity comes out of pain,
yeah.
and personal trauma, and all these things, but it doesn't, but you don't need it. The main thing is that when you're more happy in your own skin, and you've kind of got that, you're able to just be nice, just to be a bit nice to yourself.
Yeah,
that you're relaxed. You're just more relaxed. And when you're more relaxed, you're just more um, open to other people too, and you're just more observant. And so it doesn't shut you off. It makes you more connected. And the more connected you are, and the more you're able to observe the world, the more you're going to be inspired. And that's the main thing that you need. You know, the muse comes because life is speaking to you, and you're inspired by it. So it's when people become too comfortable, and and stuck in a pattern, and boring. That's when they stop becoming creative. You know.
totally agree with you. As a fan of Kula Shaker, one of the things I love the most, and it's similar to the Beatles, I think, is that there's an inherent sense of the comedy, the camaraderie, and the kind of banter and the cosmic union of the band having a sort of vision that they all kind of are into. You know, it seems like there's nods and kind of humor in Kula Shaker as well as kind of, a lot of great lyrics and everything. But this is in a playfulness. Is that important to you? Is that true? And is that important to you as a band?
Yes, I think we've always had that, and our fans have always understood it too,
Absolutely.
and it's made us, not just made us a very creative band and with its own character, but it's made us last,
Yes.
because when we do what we do, we're among friends, and that's what a friend group is, isn't it? Like real friends. Like it's really a family now,
Mm.
but it's a family that you choose to stay with, not the family that you have to kind of make work. And then obviously you love your family and all of that, but Christmases are hard.
It's a totally different feeling, that family band feeling is a
It's
different.
very different. And when Jay returned, it was just the most remarkable thing, because sometimes you meet people that you spent a long time with when you were a kid, and later on in life you meet up with them, and you just don't have anything in common anymore.
Yeah.
And you or think the world's changed, and you see it in different ways, but we all saw things in a very similar take on things, and Jay's humor was just still hilarious, and we just all understood each other and appreciated each other, and
Well,
that's what you need to carry on.
absolutely. It's still very evident. I mean, the Worm Slayer 9-minute video is fantastic. And again, it's that kind of, there's art in that and there's meaning in it, but there's also humor in it. And it's just really good to see the bands creating so much great music, and to have that sense of the band character so there. It's almost like even stronger than ever before. I think it's great
Well,
to,
it's because there's nobody getting in the way now.
right, right.
And for years, and especially in the beginning, we were fighting the beast, which is, how do you reconcile the kind of band that we are and were then with a big record company? And to be fair, a lot of people did try and to support us, but that we were in a business that had ways of doing things, and the kind of mechanics of how you make a record and how you make videos and how you talk to the press and the nature of the press and everything, and it all just was a constant battle, and it was exhausting. It was and by what I mean by exhausting is that it was very hard to present yourself with integrity and authentically,
Mm,
and it was always getting twisted.
yeah.
But whether it was the videos, I was like, what is this video? Who are this band? It's not like us at all.
Mm,
And how do we get, we're so busy, we can't get involved in the videos, what this article, this doesn't sound like us. Like who wrote this?
Mm.
And there was even the record and the pressure that we were under to make our first record, and how where John Leckie was great and where he wasn't also the right guy for us. And now we've gone the distance with our indie approach, and it's a lot more pressure
Mm.
to the business, and the music world now is very hard to make it profitable. But you have more control, and you can make a video like Worm Slayer, and you can do that, and you can feel like that is actually a really good representation of that song, and that is Jay, and those are our kids, and
Okay, cool.
and I've got to, that kids are there to be exploited. What can I say?
Speaking about those kind of that element of, you guys with the early part of your career. Also, I mean, you guys came out and had massive success, right? Instantly. Um, is that as a songwriter, like, did you go through a period of like having to kind of feel like you have to kind of, is that massive success a bit of a burden on songwriting? Do you second guess yourself, or have you always been someone who's, managed to navigate that?
Well, our first record was very successful, but we did feel like we'd been working since
Yeah.
we'd been working trying to succeed in bands, all of us, since we were 14, 15, 16. I'd played with loads of other bands. I'd even had session gigs, and if you think of it, 15 to 21, that those 6 years seem like 60 years at that age.
Yeah.
It's such a huge expanse of time. 6 years, once you're past 40, 6 years is, that's gone in a flash. You turn around, you realize you're nearly at the end of a decade.
Mm.
But back then, it's like this lifetime. And the 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 excitement of hearing Tapper for the first time and feeling like we had something there that was different was just thrilling.
Or was easily one of the greatest singles of the 90s.
It was.
It still sounds
I'm
fresh
glad
now.
you said that. I'm glad you said that. No, it was. We knew. Wow, look, listen to that.
Amazing. So,
This is great. But the frustration was just trying to capture the magic and the character of the band on record was really hard,
okay.
and we've battled with it for years and years, and I it's something to do with control and chaos.
Yeah.
Like to record, you have to control what you're doing. There has to be a focus. And if you're not going to control it, then the producer has to be a genius, and he has to know exactly how to get that band comfortable, and it's like a sort of counseling.
Correct.
And but because Kula Shaker is a scruffy, chaotic live band, and that's where the excitement comes from.
Totally.
Um, so gradually over the years, we've worked out a system for us in the studio and how we can capture it, without it just not working and not translating. It's taken us this long,
But
and
it's still kind of one of those things. I think actually it's quite interesting because even as a band who's gone as long as have been together for as long as you have, you're still working out the band, right? And that's you get that with sometimes with songwriters and guitarists or songwriters and producers, or even as a songwriter yourself, you are still working yourself out. You're still kind of in that kind of thing, and that's still exciting and good in a way, I think.
yeah, you've got to have that. I mean, that's what life should be constantly, constant, in a constant state of becoming.
Mm.
What do they say? Like life is a creative act. You should be constantly it's finding out new stuff, and I don't just mean like, you don't stop learning till the day you die. It's more about, you know, you've full, how you feel when you fall in love.
Mm.
It's like the world is just so fresh.
Yeah.
Everything is so, yeah, it's so full of possibility.
Yeah.
And that you should have that towards life. Like life is full of pain, life is full of disappointment, life doesn't make sense, and all of these things that exist at the same time. um, it's so full of potential, and the really horrific things are temporary,
Mm.
and there's always something on the other side of that pain. And just kind of getting in, that's really what I mean, I go on about spiritual this and spiritual that, and aside from the traditions, the core of it is that the relationship that you have with your life, with God, whatever you want to call it, it's constantly evolving.
Right.
And that spontaneity is the creative act. So you don't have to be a songwriter or an artist to be creative. Like life itself is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a song, darling.
It's a song, darling. I spoke to Ian Gillan last week from Deep Purple for the podcast, and I know Deep Purple are an influence on you. It seems at the moment that we're in one of those 30-year cycles where I have a 21-year-old daughter who's into the 90s, and it's great actually because it's coming out of a period of 80s and being maybe a little bit more song-led again, which is great. Taking that 30-year cycle into account, obviously the 90s were into the 60s and 70s. What influences from that period of time, 60s, 70s, were influences on you as a songwriter? Or what songwriters were influential, particularly on you as a songwriter?
I went through phases of different types of focus as a songwriter. I started off as a guitar player.
Yeah,
So I fell in love with music, as a adolescent. I fell in love with music with the guitar front and center.
okay.
And so once I'd, got kind of hooked by the Kinks and that sound
Mm.
of like the guitars leading the whole thing, I moved on to Richie Blackmore. I mean, who's like the best
Yeah,
guitar player, especially when you're 12, 13.
absolutely. Yeah.
He's he's the songs are all built around his guitar, built around his riffs and his melodies and his showmanship, and he's showing off like a bastard, and his ego and his imagination, and it's just such great stuff. And you get older, and then you get into Jimmy Page, and it becomes more mystical and esoteric. And but Reggie Blackmore is like proper Dungeons and Dragons. I mean,
Yeah. That's
he's really
yeah.
he's so great, um and it makes you want to learn and follow his style. So that was what kind of got me going. So I was writing primarily as a guitar player and writing around riffs.
Okay.
And even though I moved on to like the Beatles and uh, folk music and even country music, and trying to look at songs more melodically or lyrically. If you go back to the original sort of first cut, the scar, there I'm a guitar player. So a
Okay.
lot of my music, a lot of Kula Shaker's songs that I've written for Kula Shaker are all driven by guitar
Yeah, I
parts.
mean the riffs are incredible. It's like, opening the mystical machine gun riff is amazing. Tap was amazing. I love the fact you did a little tap for reference on Good Money on this album, by the way. Um,
Well, because a lot of the lyrics on Good Money are things that various people have said to me in the business when I was young. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
I want people to respect you like I respect you, and things like that. It's the
So,
shameless sort of schmoozing,
wow.
um, and around that time, yeah, there was a lot of bullshit.
What about lyrical influences on you as a writer?
Well, they come from everywhere in different ways. I love the old folk songs, and I love songs that aren't afraid to dip into fairy tales and legends.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether I have one person or one vein that's really kind of really. I think movies and perhaps my grandmother,
Yeah.
who was a writer,
Yeah.
um, her sense of her sense of magic, Celtic magic and melancholy has always stayed with me. She was the first person in my life who noticed that I could play music,
Oh, that's beautiful.
and she just said, it's a gift, and you gotta look after it.
That's so great.
And
I love that.
so I think perhaps that.
My favorite Kula Shaker songs, as I referred to, are Mystical Machine Gun Fire and I'm Still Here, I think. Although I've got to say, the songs on Worm Slayer are definitely hitting me very hard. Do you have a particular favorite? I know it's difficult because it's like choosing children, but is there a kind of favorite song or two, or a song or two in which you think you kind of got the vision um, the most nailed?
No, I can't quite step outside of what I'm doing that it's
Enough.
so
Yeah.
objectively. But like I said, there were moments where you pass through a certain a chapter of growth, and you become conscious of it at that moment.
Uh-huh.
And they're key um, chapters of your life. So the first time we played Govinda when we were starting, right at the beginning, I was 19, and we just played it on stage in a Glastonbury tent with the Krishnas. We played it for the Krishnas in the lunchtime free vegetarian feast.
Brilliant.
And then we went and recorded it in a friend's house in Kilburn. I remember we listened back to it. It was like the first demo of Govinda, and we got stoned and we played it back, and we knew like, wow, that's got power. That's got something, and we all knew it. And then we struggled for like another 2 years to get the right deal and for other people to, uh, for it to work, and for a while it seemed like it was not going to happen. And then, like I said, that when we recorded Tatva, when that happened, I remember being in the room and that riff starting, and just looking around the room, and everybody knew that something had happened. And
Amazing.
then listening to that recording, that first demo, and knowing that that's exactly the kind of pop single we should make, and that no one else is doing. So I think that those were moments. The Great Hosanna, recording that, um, and Mystical Machine Gun, yeah, for sure. I mean, I love the opening of that album, and
It's
I love
amazing,
I
man.
love I'm Still Here, and I love Rade Rade.
I remember buying that and just kind of like sitting there going, "Holy shit!" Like it's like from start to finish, and the first three, four tracks and everything's just like, "Oh my god!" So thank you for that because that was mind blowing to me. It was and very inspiring to me and influential as a songwriter as well. I have to say, just kind of right on point when I needed it was that kind of growing up myself being into Eastern philosophy and checking out all this kind of stuff, and then this album comes out. It's like, oh yeah, there we go. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
I'm always happy to hear those stories, and thank you for sharing it. I know that sometimes like a movie like Time Bandits,
Yep,
which I saw when I was a kid in the local cinema. I remember going and seeing Time Bandits and coming out the cinema and just like, I'm never ever going to see the world the same way again.
that's
Like,
it.
I know Terry Gilliam had blown the mind of a kid. And and then he kept getting people saying to him, Time Bandits, changed my life. And I always got the sense that he didn't appreciate it, like he wanted to be remembered for Brazil, or he wanted,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but actually, Time Bandits was that kids' film that he made that did really well. He didn't realize that he'd done something when that imagination is so formative, and you just taken them on a trip. It's
Yeah.
such a great film. I love Time Bandits. It's one of the big. It's made me who I am for sure. That's
Well,
one of the underneath Richie Blackmore, Time Bandits, all going on under the bonnet.
that's me. I mean, I love that, and it's the same. What I'm saying to you is just like that kind of. I mean, I still to this day, if I'm going through a bit of a rough patch, I will get the bit of Mystical Machine Gun Fire. Where you just got to be stronger now. It's like it's imprinted in my brain of like my brain goes right. You need a bit of a lift. Let's pull out that, and it's that's what I love about songwriting and talking to you guys and art, particularly when it's been a genuine influence on me. Is like this is what you're talking about, Richie Blackmore and Time Bandits. You've done it to me. Hopefully, I do it to someone else. It's like it's really important to celebrate that. I think in this mad psychotic world we live in, is you can actually make a bit of difference in someone's life through being concentrating on your own art, and making it.
Well, there's a strong argument that we're all sort of just talking to ourselves and trying to, you're trying to g yourself up and
True.
encourage yourself to go on, and if it's genuine, then someone else will connect with it.
Absolutely. So I mean, I've just seen today that the album is number 5 in the album charts, which is, if numbers mean anything, that's extremely exciting. Also, though, on the Kula Shaker fans everywhere, they are loving this album. The amount of excitement and sort of joy of listening to this album is a great time to be a Kula Shaker fan. And I saw one site and asked a question saying that I was going to be talking to you today, and asked anybody to come up with a question. And Barnaby Cook asked, Kula Shaker's use of musical styles is often reverential without being referential. They use a sound palette made of numerous musical motifs, but always sound original with any borrowed influence. You can hear parts of songs that are reminiscent of their influences, but are in no way clankingly plagiarized. Is this something that comes easily or naturally or takes effort?
Wow, what a well-written question.
Isn't it? Yeah, a good name as
Um,
well.
well, I love. I mean, yeah, I appreciate the compliment. I think it's absolutely it's again, it's the control and the chaos. It's the muse and the craft.
Yeah,
It's got to come naturally. And what when you're dipping into the palette, because our influence is the golden age
yeah,
of rock music.
yeah.
It's that's where we draw from. That's our lineage. And we're coming in, that's the kind of music we play. We have a Hammond organ, and you know, we don't have a DX7, for instance.
Mhm.
And we love that sound. But as you go, if you say, okay, something happened here, and it became like the Doors. It became very Doorsy, and
Yeah,
we say, let's write a song with that Doorsy sound. But at the same time, we're not copying it. We're using it as the basis for something new.
it's a little nod.
Well, it's not even a nod. It's just like we like it.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and
There we go. That's a better answer. Absolutely. Love that. Love that.
if you got to remember as well that everything, you talk about the muse, and the muse is very mysterious, and the muse is also other things, like nothing is truly 100% original.
Yeah.
everything is influenced by everything else. And if you just got to know your history, and you look at the Doors, and you know, oh well, that's the Puerto Rican grooves, you know, that they're into. They heard it, boom, chicken, din, that, you know, that's that groove that's on Soul Kitchen and When the Music's Over, and um, Light My Fire, and you know, it's that they're using something that someone else had used, and they made it completely their own thing.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of confidence and fearlessness that you have to have with any creativity. You just don't be afraid. Just do what you love, and you'll find your way.
Great answer. I mean, I've got a couple of questions left for you. One of which was, what songwriting advice would you give to a young kid with a guitar or piano in a room? But to be fair, you've given so much invaluable advice. But is there anything straight away that you tell that kid who says to you, "I'd love to be a songwriter like you"? What would you say?
Well, I would say, you know, study the masters,
Yeah,
because you know, you do learn about how, if you want to know how they did it, you just study it, and the way you study it is not just by listening to it, but by learning to play it, and by learning to play it, um, you make a connection with that music, and I think that the only kind of nuance to that is that there's a difference between learning something and copying something.
totally. Yeah,
And you know, learning to play it is to become familiar with it, and to understand the mechanics of it. But copying it to try to sort of, you know, replicate it, I don't think that's healthy. And there's some amazing players on YouTube. I mean, you know, if I want to evaluate myself as a guitarist, and I put on YouTube, I just say, well, get to the back of the queue, because everyone is better than you. You know, there's so many amazing players. But what I tell my kids is, you don't want to be like, you want to be your own character. And you know, that's the goal. The goal is to, for your music to become an extension of your original. Everyone's unique, and you just got to become yourself. And so that's the difference.
beautiful. Do you have a take on AI?
Yeah, it's a tool. It's not a mean. It's a means to an end. It's not the end in itself. I think AI, you know, when you see lots of crappy AI, it's all just, you know, the AI is driving the process.
Mm,
But it should just be another tool. Like, you know, DX7s in the 80s just sort of became too much dictating the sound of the records, and eventually all the digital stuff kind of found its place.
mm,
And you know, or CGI in movies. You know, when CGI first came out, it was a movie about CGI, and now CGI is finding found its place amongst all these other, like, good movies. It finds its place among all the traditional tools of how you create films and how you create that illusion. And it's the same thing. Yeah. I mean, AI, you know, if we're just talking about songwriting,
yeah, I agree with you about
I
someone.
just think it's bullshit. It's just bullshit.
Good, good. Okay, so final couple of questions for you. Just, if you could have written, I ask every songwriter this, if you could have written any other song, what song do you wish you could have written?
What do you mean, like Happy Birthday or?
Yeah, like someone else's song. Which song would you wish you could
Yeah, like the one that pays all your bills. Yeah, that
have?
song.
All right, that's. Can we think of an artist and name that you?
Yeah, well, isn't like Happy Birthday, like that? Isn't that the main song that it just makes all the money? Because it's owned by Time Warner now, you know, so they're cleaning up. I discovered that because I made a film called Fantastic Fear of Everything, and there was a scene in it where a kid's birthday party, and I put in the script, the kids are singing Happy Birthdays, and the producer said, "No way, no one can use that song." it's the most expensive song in the world. It's owned by Time Warner. You'll never get it cleared.
Crazy, isn't it?
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Good.
that's the holy grail.
Good. Yeah. Good answer. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. And I mean, like I said, it's such an exciting time to be a Kula Shaker fan. Thank you very much for your songs and music that have completely inspired and influenced me as a writer, and for your time today. I know you're really busy doing so many interviews and press bits and pieces. And let's hope for more Kula Shaker for the rest of time. Thank you very much for joining Songwriting for Songwriters podcast and giving me some inspiration. Appreciate your time.
The pleasure.